I want to assure you, fellow African nations, that Nigeria will now stand as a more constructive partner in advancing the matters of concern in our continent, particularly with regards to economic development and the eradication of poverty. I thank the people of Nigeria for reposing their confidence in me at this trying moment. Our nation wrestles many challenges, including insecurity, corruption, economic decline. I pledge to give you my best in tackling these problems. The good people of Nigeria, your obligation does not end with casting your ballot. I seek your voice and input as we tackle these problems. This will not be a government democratic only in form. It will be a government democratic in substance and in how it interacts with its own people. No doubt this nation has suffered greatly in the recent past, and its staying power has been tested to its limits by crisis, chief among which is insurgency of the Boko Haram. There is no doubt that in tackling the insurgency, we have a tough and urgent job to do. But I assure you that Boko Haram will soon know the strength of our collective will and the commitment to rid this nation of terror and bring back peace and normalcy to all the affected areas.
Being joined in the studio now by two gentlemen who will tell us their own view. I'm still coming to the distinguished senator. Don't worry, our fight is not over. Even on the football pitch, we'll go there. We have a legal practitioner who I remember a couple of weeks back predicted that Nigerians are going to take their destiny in their hands. GT Ogunye. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And another politician of repute, and he looks very much like Jibola this morning. And did you call Kolo?
Look at his hair too.
No, Jibola, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
Comrade Ayodele, Adewale, former chairman, I'm ward of the local government. You're also welcome.
Very welcome, sir. Let me take this text message, which will start off this segment. Somebody said, corruption must be stamped out and whistleblower must be protected according to GMB covenant with Nigerians. How possible is that?
It's possible. All along, we've always said that the wave of corruption is not as a result of absence of necessary laws, but the political will of the leaders to pursue corrupt people. And if you have an individual like Barr who's determined to stamp out corruption in the country, I think we're on the way.
But isn't he already creating some sacred cows by saying, okay, I don't have any problem with you. All the past, let it go from now, you know? And isn't he saying that, okay, I won't touch some, I'll touch some?
No, he's not saying that. What he's trying to say is his government is not out to witch hunt anybody. Okay. So you don't have anything to fear. That's okay, maybe we've done this, we've done that. But it's particular more about present. Okay, maybe we may not waste too much time pursuing those things that have already left. But at least when we know this is a new dawn, this is a new era, we are starting on a plain...
fresh page.
Yes. Okay. You know exactly what you are in for. And that is exactly what we need. We need to take some people and you make sure it doesn't pay. When you know that there are consequences for certain action, the tendency is for you to run away for such consequences. So I think that is exactly what he's trying to say.
You're a lawmaker. Yes. You're saying it's not due to the absence of the law.
Oh, we are from initial, ab initio. My brother will say that. There has always been necessary laws to take care of any criminal act from the creation of the country.
Adequate?
adequate. But because of changing in criminal activities, we now have gangsters, we have organized crimes and so on and so forth. And because of terrorism, that is why we now have introduction of the Anti-Terrorism Act, we have EFCC, we have ICPC. It's because this thing seems not to be going.
Oh. Okay,
because again,
I have one.
to this, what we are saying is because there was no political will
from
the leaders to do it. Just create, okay, during the 20 months of Buhari's first regime, there was discipline. Everybody was saying, I remember that time, you could not travel beyond holding over certain amount of money in foreign currency. You dare not. And we have situations, some may agree, some may not agree, situation where some well-known individuals were caught with what you will call now chicken change. And they were arrested, prosecuted, taken to court. Because if the law says you cannot do this, don't bear the law. That's what it's saying. And that is what a leader needs to do. If it is a law, and it goes through the process of passage, and it becomes a law of this country, you dare to breach it, then you face the consequences.
Okay, Comrade Adewale, expectations are very, very high, and it's always good to criticize from outside. Are you sure that your party will deliver at the end of the day, looking at the enormity of the problem that we have in this country?
Well, first, thank you for having me. The question whether a party will deliver or not, for us, is non-consequential to the extent that we have been delivering right from 1999, regardless of the metamorphosis that have happened within the nomenclature of the party. In 1999, we met almost near doldrum of our system. And when Asiwaju came in, of course, he assembled a lot of ideologues. And I must also thank the civil servants that were very ready to cooperate with his administration then. And they saw all of the issues. And of course, he reached out, even to the civil society, to the extent that the civil society was able to explain what the programs was all about. It's about networking, it's about cooperation, and the people. And ever since then, Lagos has become a barometer for measuring progress in Nigeria. And within the limitation of us then being the opposition, we have always mirrored on how a sane society should look like. And I guess that is what we exported and that people loved in the APC and made everybody come to join it. If you look at many of our rallies, you see the tremendous crowd that came out. And naturally, there's no amount of money that you can harness to give those crowds to the extent that they even come to vote for you and stand by their votes. You saw the old women. You saw
the old men, the sick ones.
The very sick one that came from the hospital bed to cast their vote. And they casted their vote for change. Even the military, a lot of them, we've been discussing, they casted their vote for change. The police are tired. A lot of people have died. You understand? So that is what our party stands for. And if you go through the charter of our party, it's people-oriented. It's masses-driven and all of that.
Okay, so, I want to go to the lawyer here, and I'm going to draw you away from what Comrade has said, back to what the distinguished senator has said. It is not for the lack of the laws. They are there. There are various state machinery that are also there as watchdogs. Don't you think the first set of people that will break all these laws and circumvent everything are the politicians who are actually asking for a wind of change?
Not necessarily.
And why do you say that?
Not necessarily. I mean, we don't take an assessment of who is first to break the law. No survey has been conducted to determine whether a politician will break the law first before the ordinary people will break the law.
Or the journalists like Jibola.
But the point is that it can't be argued that the onus on them is higher because they are the lawmakers and the law executors. Not to talk of the judiciary that interprets the law. And being the lawgiver and the law executors, they should show leadership by example by complying fully with the law, even before the ordinary folks, many of whom are presumed not to know the law, regardless of the fact that ignorance of the law is not an excuse, before they first break the law. That said, you know, the senator mentioned something about the political will, absence of the political will. It's a phrase that we're all familiar with. I want to consider that, yes, largely that is so, but we need to move beyond episodic political will. What I mean is that if you have a leader that has a political will, then everything goes right. If you have a leader that doesn't have a political will, depending on his political predilection and disposition, then everything goes all right and wrong. That is not sustainable. We will need to be creative and ingenious in ensuring that our laws are improved upon to the extent that regardless of the occasional malady, quote and unquote, of the person that goes into power, you know, it is possible, you know, on a stretch, on an unbroken stretch, to enforce the law.
Do you see Muhammadu Buhari being able to do this?
That's why I'm fascinated by some of the things they've said, that they're going to embark on institutional reforms. Institutional reforms. I'll give you an example. Is anybody deny the possibility of the police, if the police were to be left intact, to be used against the Nigerian people the way it's been used against the Nigerian people in this last election season? And we're not even out of it yet. Really. Now, it's, you know, all is well that ends well. People are clapping now and all that. We can't forget the cases of violations, gross violations of people's rights by the law enforcement agencies. Is it anybody's guess that if you have the army, the way it is, restricting governance, allowing ministers to be on the prowl to torment the people while governors are being restricted, without understanding that in a democracy, when you talk about the military being subordinate to civil authority, you're talking not only about that civil authority of the presidency, but shared civil authority amongst the layers of government. So are we really deluding ourselves that in the future that can happen again? No. So in other words, what I'm saying, state police, I'm an apostle of good governance and federalism. State police is a necessary component of that. Look, when you say you are a federation, I think Christian Nigeria a federation. We say Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it is necessary that when you talk about a federation, every layer of government, federal, which is the central government, state, local government, must have their law enforcement machinery. Because
the political class.
Because they call them government. Every government must be able to enforce the law, collect taxes, collect rates, and do some things. That's why it's the government. So you can't have, it's an aberration, to have a central government with the police force and the states not have it. So it's not just about state police, down to the local level, even down to a university that can organize its own police force.
Are you conscious of the political class? Wouldn't they abuse it?
Are they not abusing it right now?
Right, exactly.
So are you not abusing unitary police in a federal Nigeria, which is an aberration?
Okay, Senator.
And in any case, when you are not familiar with Nigerian history, you start saying we are not right for it. Indeed, this president has said that we are not right, and I laugh. He's not familiar with Nigerian history. In the First Republic, we have native authority police.
Exactly.
In the 50s, we had in this country. Yes. And what happened? When the military came in 1966, because they didn't want diffusion of arms, because there was a civil war that was going on, and they wanted to mop up arms, they then made the police force a unitary force. Same thing for prisons. There was a native authority prison. So we now have one prison, and then you call on the state government to be buying vehicles, to be buying buses, to be buying Black Maria for that federal government. So the same thing for the police. The whole thing about Lagos State Security Task Force, how can you, as a government, be helping the federal government and another layer of government to be maintaining its force? So it is not. There are too many distortions going on in time about politicians were busy. You are not right. You won't be right for anything.
So
okay.
You are saying this is your agenda for Buhari.
I have one interesting
It's a common sense agenda. It's not my personal agenda. Okay. Nigeria cannot make any progress if you do not reform massively.
Okay. Our focus today is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the presidential election. I have one interesting text here. The good, say Baba, Jega, and Jonathan. The bad, Wike, patience. And the, okay, sorry, the ugly. The bad is God's Day Orubebe. For you, which is the good, which is the bad, and which is the ugly?
Before you say that, I have a similar one here that says, the good, Jonathan, consider defeat without shedding blood. The bad, Fayoshe. The ugly, Orubebe. What's your take?
Well, I will go with the good, not in any particular order. Buhari, Jega, Jonathan, and collectively Nigerians. The bad, those that went on the street, maybe during election, before election, and after election, to kill and maim. They are the bad. And perhaps they also form part of the ugly. For those that have lost, and give it to them, they've been able to comport themselves up till now. So I do not want to put them into any category for
either
now.
bad or ugly.
No, because they've shown good sportsmanship by embracing the faith, saying we're ready to work with you, and we should leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay, Comrade Ayodele, what lessons have you taken away from the presidential election, especially for the political class?
Well, the lesson I have seen there is that they were quick to understand that the people's will must prevail, and if they don't, they get consumed. And as students of history, perhaps they took time to also learn from other societies where these things have gone so bad, to the extent that the leadership suffered for it, like Libya, like what happened to Gbagbo, and some other things like that all over the world. And considering materialism also. I used to have a senior when I was in St. Gregory's College, and he would always tell me two things, that one, shoe gets size. Shoe has a size.
Yes,
size for every shoe. And secondly is that you should be quick to understand that you are not the person that knows all, and no matter how strong you might be, you could be an ugly past. But again, if the people also say that the rule of law must be started on them for a new Nigeria, then they cannot run away from their past. That they must just have to confront their present and future that would justify whether their past was handled rightly or wrongly. And I guess that is what the incoming administration is trying to douse down, that let's look at the future and let the future take its course.
Okay, there was one thing I took away from all these elections, not the process, not the conduct, not the release of the election, but a particular incident on the day of the announcement, Orubebe's issue. How many of our politicians, our leaders, I beg to say distinguished senators, even men and women at the Senate, at the National Assembly, will be as calm as Atahiro Jega was, even in the face of that great intimidation and, you know, provocation, because indeed it was provocation.
Yeah.
Is that a lesson that we have taken from all of this? And in all sincerity, do you think we can be able to look outside the elections and look at the conduct of Jega and take this away?
No. I've said a lot about Jega earlier on. He's somebody I admire very much. And I wasn't surprised that it was that calm. You can always see him. He does not wear his emotion on his sleeves. You can hardly say what is going on in his mind. He's always poker-faced, blank. You can't read him. And I tell you, there are a lot of people like that. There are a lot of Nigerians. It's because the system threw him up that we discovered that, oh, yes, we have a Jega who can actually handle our electoral process. If he's allowed to stay there for another tenure and is able to conduct another election, we will have taken a giant step towards having a free, fair, and credible election.
But he's saying he doesn't want to stay.
Well, I don't know, maybe let's see what happens. There can be persuasion here and there.
Okay, Barrister Ogunye, aside from institutional reforms, what are the other agendas that you would like to set for the new government?
You know, Nigerians, the expectation of Nigeria is very high. And in the first days of the new administration, there are certain things that I want to believe that the new administration has to do to convince Nigeria that Nigeria is headed in the right direction, in a new direction. And some of these things, they may appear not to be the substance of government, just forms. For example, just take the convoy issue. And some people will argue that it's a security issue, that they are the ones to determine the number of vehicles that they have and all that. But anytime they pass you by and you see that convoy, you see profligacy, you see power show, you see immodesty. And we must bring humility back to government. I'm not saying that a president should drive himself or should have one or two vehicles in his convoy, but you have to scale it down in tandem with what is going on in the country. First, that's just one form, which is not a matter of substance. Second, we all know that in this country today, we talk about emolument. It's become a contentious issue.
There's a text to that effect.
Emolument of legislators, of executives and all. I've done a comparison. And I'm not saying this to say that our legislators are not working hard. A judge receives a salary. His salary is fixed. He writes judgment. He can even write 30 judgments and rulings in a month, really. Rulings, short rulings, long rulings, judgment. But his salary is fixed. He's part of the government because he works in the judiciary, the third arm of government. So when you then compare the emolument of that judge to the emolument of a legislator and the perquisites of office and all that, you see a staggering difference. We must have some kind of equitable harmony in remuneration of public officers. And I think that in the first few days, you should see that government is moving in that direction, not in an arbitrary fashion, but with determination and sincerity of purpose and commitment that, look, we know what is going on, things are very bad, so we want to scale down the cost of governance. As another example, this may not be very substantive, but at least in terms of form, to see that government is moving in another direction, you have to pay attention to that. 3, Section 419 of the Police Act says the president should have a senior police officer as his ADC. Because you see, you can project power as authoritarian by the kind of people that you have around you. President Olusegun Obasanjo came to power in 1999. That section is there. Every governor in this country has a policeman as an ADC. So what makes the president different? The argument was that whether he's a civilian president, so I expect this president not to have a military man.
He's a former general.
Regardless, he's the president now. He's not in office. He's not in office because he was a former general. He's in office as a civil president. So when you then see a military man, and this current president even carry to a very ridiculous extent. If a civilian, then you had the soldiers, always going around with him and all that. They say, yes, after all, Obama had something. I don't know what Obama has, but what I know is what the law of Nigeria prescribes. So you must be able to show to exhibit that you are observing the rule of law to the letter. And there are many of such things that you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and people will see that, this is really General Muhammadu Olukorede Ojutidola Barr. They can buy that.
Okay. But Comrade Ayodele, do you see Muhammadu Buhari? Now, you've listened to what Mr. Ogunye has to say. Do you see him as having the willpower to interpret to the letter all of these constitutional provisions?
Well, I hope you are looking at Mr. I'll not use general now, Mr. Muhammadu Buhari, because that was what I told the military.
Mr. Muhammadu Olukorede Buhari.
When we're transitioning,
You are not observing my copyright.
when we're transitioning into the civil dispensation in 1999, I remember as the student union president of Lagos State University then, we had our convocation, a pre-convocation, you have your coconut festival. And the acting governor then came to Lasso to break the symbolic coconut. And after doing that, I decided to make them plant trees. And I started naming those palm trees. And I got to a palm tree, I said, this one is for Alhaji Buba Marwa, and the man frowned. And I said, why are you frowning? We are moving into civil dispensation. I would not give you the appendage of a military toga because we try to remove the military ideology from our psyche then. Coming to Mr. Buhari, I hope you are not looking at him as Mr. Buhari as an element. No. Mr. Buhari is a symbol. The symbol for change, the symbol for the APC charter, and the symbol for the Nigerian laws. So when you look at Mr. Buhari, it's within the context of all of these structures that we have in our country. First and foremost, he's going there as a Nigerian. Secondly, he's going on a platform of change, which is the APC. But the most fundamental thing is that he's going to implement the Nigerian laws. So Mr. Buhari has in all of him these values, because he's not going to act alone. He has a structure that will act on his behalf.
It's collective.
It's collective thing. So whatever he does, he's going to take responsibility for it, but within the limitation of all of this context.
Okay, Senator Ganiyu. Yes, Senator Ganiyu. As a follow-up to that question, Mr. Buhari did say that APC is not going to be a ruling party, but a people's government ready to serve. How would you serve effectively, and how would you deliver on your promise when you look at the situation of the economy as we speak? Crude oil is the major source of revenue for this particular country of ours, and the price of crude oil has crashed. Right. You have made promises that there will be lights, there will be jobs, there will be infrastructure.
Transportation.
How easy would it be for your party? You need money to do all of these things.
Execute this.
Well, let me quickly start with the issue of the issue of adapting to the situation. I think one of the agenda in the manifesto of the party is the issue of rule of law. Okay. And that the party will make sure that the laws, the rules of this country are followed, regardless of whose ox is gone. It's part of the manifesto. There is a specific chapter on that and goes on to explain all forms of abuses and so on and so forth that the party, and like Comrade said, it's not about Buhari alone, it's about the party responding to people's will. If, for instance, it's not within the knowledge of the party members or the leadership that there is a provision of the law, I mean, permit me to say that, I know ignorance is no excuse, but if it's brought to our notice, and I'm sure as they are listening to us, they will consider it, that, okay, yes, if this is it, then we must find a way of doing it, because it's very salient, the issue raised by my learning friend. Do I say?
Yes,
Section 419.
Yes. Of Police Act.
You see, talking now about how do we meet promises, there are bound to be challenges. Even if you are in government and something happened, just like the meltdown in 2008, you are not going to close government. You must find a way of solving the issues. Now we have on our hands, as we are going into government, an economic problem.
Okay.
So we now put everybody together, find solution. And right now, I'm very, very much aware that we have some people working on how to go about the economic situation that we've suddenly found ourselves. Don't forget, the budget was initially, the benchmark for the budget was initially 62, 63. And we are even, the National Assembly was thinking of even increasing it. And suddenly, the oil price was going below 50. So how do we meet up? So that has been an issue that while we were even campaigning, they kept on discussing. Then how do we start? How do we do? I can assure you, because of the composition of the party, the resources that we have in terms of human resources, their knowledge, their experience, we can tackle every issue. The party will not go out to say that we have this on our manifesto, we have this on our program, without first thinking on how to execute those programs. How do we raise money to do this program? It's not going to be an ad hoc issue. It's not going to be a fire brigade issue. No, everything mentioned in the manifesto was well thought out. And I can assure you, the only thing I can do now, aside from giving you facts and figures that we're going to raise money from this end, we're going to raise money from this, is to assure you that everything is well thought out and we will not disappoint Nigerians.
Let me go back to you, Mr. Ogunye. On a lighter mood, one of your colleagues is in this administration with Buhari, a senior advocate of Nigeria, so you can hold him. You hold him very well. That's Professor Shibajo. I don't know if he was your teacher. He was so many people's teacher.
He's my friend.
He's your friend. So you can hold him to that. But outside of that, the composition of the National Assembly via the results of this election, how would you see it affecting Buhari's performance? Because I saw that we have a lot of now the opposition coming in, you know, at the National Assembly this time around as well. So do you see it as affecting his performance on the long run?
No, it will, rather than affect his performance, it will enhance his performance.
And how would you do this?
His party now has gained control of the Senate.
Yes.
Before the election, his party, the APC, was in control and still in control because we've not had a new assembly of the House of Representatives. And although I have not fully seen the results of the House of Rep, I can presume that given the widespread support that the party also will enjoy a majority or control of the House of Representatives. So to that extent, executive bills, proposals will have a smooth sail, you know, once they're going to work for Nigeria, because I don't expect the Nigerian Assembly to be a rubber stamp legislature and all that. So in other words, in other words, you won't have a National Assembly that is antagonistic to the executive. And so if you have a harmonious relationship, things can work better. Even in settled democracies, it continues to be a problem. For example, in the United States, a Congress that is controlled by Republicans, you know, and executive control. And so even for no other reason, just because they want to be confrontational and antagonize the president, they go and take another line, even when the president, you know, on Iran, on Israel, on many, many issues. And that's a settled democracy. So, and it can be worse in our own situation since we are still growing this process. So I expect that with that control, the National Assembly will be able to be a force for
I'm sorry, Busala,
yes.
you have taken a bow when ministers come for screening. If Ogunye had been screened properly, maybe you wouldn't have behaved like that day.
No, even if I had been given the most rigorous screening, you know, people think that poverty relates only to material poverty. No, poverty has several categories. There's moral poverty, cultural poverty, intellectual poverty, material poverty. But that's the more or the most visible
the
that
material.
people talk about. Yeah. And so, yes, moving forward, I would expect that the tradition of take a bow and go will be consigned to the dustbin of history. I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility. You see, the idea that a ministerial nominee should not be subjected to the most rigorous vetting before coming to office should be discarded. It is possible it is possible, and this an aspect that people have not looked at, that before that nominee comes to the chamber, that a committee has done its work, has vetted this, has asked questions and all that, and has found him worthy of being a minister, and has made a recommendation to the plenary, to the larger house. And of course, when that committee's report is taken, then there's no need to then start asking questions again and duplicating. Just take a bow and go. It's possible. But the impression that has been created wittingly or unwittingly is that all that the Senate does is based on political party affiliation and solidarity. All that it does is just to say, just take a bow and go because you know, you belong to a party, like because you have been a senator before and all that and all that. I think that that impression that has been created will have to be erased moving forward. So that people think that,
yes, on the issue of taking a bow, I think I'll be doing my colleagues a disservice if I don't respond to that. It's done in the Senate as a kind of a practice, a tradition. And what we are saying is this: if somewhere along the line somebody was qualified to be a member of the National Assembly, he must have gone through the process of election and acceptability by his immediate community, his constituency. And unless there's something that happened between that time and the time we were doing the screening, we felt that, okay, you should also enjoy that privilege of being a member of National Assembly. But we've had situations where we question such privilege and said, no. But oftentimes, some of these things, like you said, may have happened before we get to the floor of the chambers. We've had instances where the Senate refused that they were not going to screen certain people, even though they were former senators and so on and so forth. But eventually, the issue of party politics was certain. Even the last one, there have been various agreements that we will not go that way, so that we will not damage the integrity of the part of the National Assembly, of the institution of the Senate, because we believe that we must build the institution. But then the issue of party politics comes in. And where that comes in, the issue of numbers will also come. So that is why it goes. So you may still have the issue of giving some privileges to members of the National Assembly, unless, of course, there are some issues that have arose between the time it served and the time it was presented for nomination by Mr. President.
Okay, Comrade Ayodele, the slogan of your party is change. And when you look at the quality of ministers that the present government has, do you see your party setting the so-called change by retaining any of them, even if they are not a member of your party?
Well, my party believes that you put a square peg in a square hole. As much as I respect the distinguished senator and I've always learned from him, I will beg to disagree on a particular thing that because one is a senator and I should just allow easy passage. You can have a politician that have a lot of value. It's like a footballer, very, very good, a striker. The fact that he's a footballer does not mean that you should make him a goalkeeper, even if he has such abilities. You understand? We must try as much as possible. The person might not be a doctor. He can have passion for medicine and to build that institution, and he's a team player. So once you identify such a person, you put that person there, and he can work with the institution, because you should understand that you still have career officers there that controls the system. It's not like taking Mr. G.T. Okoye and making him a minister for foreign affairs. Because of the fact that he has surrendered himself to the will of institutional values and the rule of law. So working internationally will not be a challenge for him. So that is why, with due respect, I still feel that that take a bow thing should be downplayed.
Yes, if I may just say this, sir. If I may just say this, sir.
Sorry, excuse me. Unfortunately, by the time we have nominations, they are not attached to specific ministries. So it's global. You don't know which nominee will go to this ministry. That is at the discretion of Mr. President after confirmation.
Sir, that's exactly what I wanted to address. It is wrong to blind vet.
Exactly.
It is not done in any normal society. And moving forward, I expect that if General Muhammadu Buhari wants to nominate ministers, the minister that has been nominated for a particular office will be known. So you vet him as per that office. Blind vetting, blind screening, and blind endorsing, so that you now leave the president to then start juggling and all that. Exactly. It's not done.
So you agree with
Going
it?
back to the question he
Yes,
asked.
yes.
That was very psychic. Going back to the question he asked, you see, my party is so meticulous and so unique that we don't just put people forward for a certain duty. No. The structure, the institution itself would look at these people very critically, which they have been doing ab initio, even before the elections. Because we have seen the end before the start. We have a roadmap that we have designed, and as we go, we'll also be checking the systems and all of that. But I can assure you that Nigeria will never be the same again.
Okay, Senator Ganiyu, do you see the victory of Buhari serving as an advantage for your party in the April 11th polls?
Oh, yes, because we've demonstrated that Nigerians have demonstrated that, okay, this is a party we want. And again, we have carefully chosen our candidates, regardless of which election comes first. We've carefully chosen our candidate to the fact that we believe that the combination of the last election and because we have good candidates on ground, we'll be able to scale through the next election. In Lagos, where
what should we expect
in Lagos, let me tell you, in Lagos.
Because Comrade said that Lagos is the benchmark.
Yes, it has always been the benchmark. It will continue to be a benchmark. In Lagos, now that we are specific, so I have every right to be specific again. We have as our flag bearer, Akinwumi Ambode, is the man chosen by the party. And we believe very strongly that as Nigerians came out to vote for APC on March 28th, they will come out. Because it's very, very important that we have the same party in Lagos State. This will give us the opportunity to have federal projects coming to Lagos. And this will also give us a very good opportunity, maybe for the first time, to have the same party ruling the center and in the state. We've never experienced it. We at the National Assembly knows what the state loses because of that status, which should be democratic. So now we should have that advantage. And we should not allow that advantage to slip us by.
Okay,
so,
let me just
quickly add.
I'll give you just half a minute.
Half a minute. You see, we are so privileged to have a standard bearer in the APC right now, in person Mr. Akinwumi Ambode. There's a man that have risen through the rudiment from a civil service structure that controls the system to winning the party ticket, to have worked with the two government symbols of our party, Aswaju and Mr. Raji Fashola.
And let us hope he wins.
He has robbed a lot of things off of them.
Okay.
And he carried his knowledge along with him. I can assure
that
you
will make him a better person.
Makes him even a much better person.
Okay.
As we win the election, you are going to see astronomical development hinge alongside with that of the federal.
Okay,
thank you very much, Gite Ogunye. I'm very sorry. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Comrade Ayodele, thank you so much. Distinguished Senator, thank you so much. But there's a question for you, and I want you to answer. Somebody says here, there's a rumor going around that Solomon has left APC. Is it true?
Yeah, I am. Okay. I was around throughout the election. I've been around. They will continue to peddle rumors, and it will remain rumors. I'm firmly rooted in the APC.
Okay, Busola, don't also forget that Tunde Oni celebrated his birthday yesterday, and Solomon celebrated his birthday today.
That's why Solomon did not come to the studio, so that we'll have cake and all of that. Tunde Oni, you're wonderful. Thank you for always being there behind the cameras. And Solomon Gbadebo, happy birthday to you, being a very, very troublesome producer. And a distinguished senator, it's wonderful having you
Thank
here.
you.
Comrade Ayodele, I hope your party wins come Saturday. GT Ogunye, please continue to be the watchdog of the society. Let's go to the dance floor, round it up. Okay, Nigerians, okay, Lagosians. Let's take it to the dance floor. Please join us.
Are you joining us? Sir?
No,
The lawyers dance.
I don't dance.
Oh, lawyers don't dance. Okay.
They do.
Okay.
Nigeria, owó wa ti bá ohun tí a wá Ayodele. Senator Ganiyu Solomon.